Good morning everyone, welcome to the Lisa Loves Stitchin' studio vlogs. My name's Lisa and I'm coming to you from sunny Brisbane in Queensland, Australia. Today I think is the 21st of June or the 20th of June 2022. It's a Tuesday morning and I have the day off because I needed 2 days to recuperate from my exciting weekend away in Hobart at the Dark Mojo Retreat 2022, the inaugural one, hosted by A Stitch in Time Hobart, and the guest designer was the wonderful and talented Joanna of Mojo Stitches. Before I get into retreat stuff, I thought I will go over the projects that I've been working on lately before I went to retreat, and then we'll get into the retreat stuff. So let me start with, we'll get knitting out the way and then we can just enjoy the cross stitch. So apologies if you're not a knitter and you're not interested, just fast forward a little bit. So as you would have been aware if you've watched my welcome if you're a new subscriber. Welcome to my regular viewers, and if you're new, feel free to like and subscribe below, and you can hit the bell if you want notifications when I add a video. So I don't do regular weekly studio vlogs just because of work life gets in the way, so I often have like maybe once a month or every 6 weeks I'll do a studio vlog, but it's not on a set date because I'm slack. So this is the Brook Green cardigan that I'm knitting out of 4-ply hand-dyed yarn that I had leftovers of. It's looking really pretty. This is my own hand-dyed yarn that I dyed myself, and that's going to be the garter edge on the neckband and the bottom and the ends of the sleeves, the cuffs. So yeah, so I'm just working on the bottom garter ribbing, garter band at the bottom. So I've got to do about maybe about that much more, and then I can start on the neckband, and then all I've got to do is the sleeves and I'm done. So I did make a boo-boo. I dropped some stitches, and I've never had to pick up stitches in garter before, so it wasn't pretty. And I'm just going to ignore it because it's not that bad, it's just a little divot. If I show you, that's where I stuffed up. And this is my first cardigan, and you know what, I'm just going to ignore it. No one's going to know. They're not going to notice unless they're looking really close because it's down the bottom of the cardigan. So I've been really enjoying this, and it's great that I'm just doing knit stitch back and forth. I don't have to do purl stitch anymore till I get to the sleeves. So that, I mean, I don't have any more purl stitch to do actually because the sleeves are in the round. So yeah, so I'm really loving how this is turning out. I can't wait to be wearing it. Probably won't get to do it till next year at the rate I'm going. But yeah, so that's what I've been working on knitting wise. And I'll just pull out the ball of my hand dyed yarn that I dyed up. This was in my blue hydrangea colorway. And I did have them originally listed in my shop, but they didn't sell, so I went, well, I'm just going to use it for myself because I think it's pretty. So that's that one. I did do a bit of knitting on the plane when I was traveling to the retreat, and I'll tell you why I got plenty of knitting time in when I get to that. So this one is Sarah Newman 1822. It's a beautiful sample. I don't have the front cover of what the sample looks like, but if you have a look online you will see it is gorgeous. So since I last showed it to you. It's on this beautiful lemon butter linen from Jay's Cross Stitch. It's going to be huge. So I'll just, so this is 36 count linen, lemon butter by Jay's Cross Stitch. I did a little bit of stuff on the border, but yeah, I stuffed something up and I had to rip back. So I did a little bit on the border, and then the last time I'd done these motifs, and I'm not sure, I might have done part of this urn, but not much. So I basically have pretty much done almost all the flowers in the urn. I still have some more to come out here. And then I've just got to finish off the bottom part of the urn and I'm done on that motif. And it is so pretty. I love the colours. And I'm sorry if any wording that I showed in this is back to front, because I can't find my tripod attachment for my phone. So I'm just got you sat up on my antique sewing box on top of my heat pack, on top of a little box. So you're precariously sitting there watching me, and so I've done it the other way around because it's just easier. So yeah, so that's what I have done so far on that one. I'm just loving the colours in this. It's so pretty. I can't wait to have this done eventually, but it's probably going to take me forever. As do most things, hey, we all know that. And it's just DMC that I'm using for that one. So that's that one. So I also did some work on my Halloween at Hollyberry Farm by Stacey Nash Primitives. And I'm using the called for threads, except I stuffed up and I put the start of the alphabet should have been swapped around in the colours, but I went whatever. I started with the wrong colour because, you know, who reads instructions? Not me. So I've nearly got the end of the, I've basically done the end of this row of letters and just coming along with the border, and then I can get into the fun motifs. And this is in the called for Gentle Arts threads. Sorry if you can hear Paris barking. So that's that one. I pretty much hadn't done much on that one at all, so the bulk of what you've seen there is what I've done recently. Oops, I better put the pattern back in the bag. That's not a good idea. Otherwise I will lose it. Now the next one I worked on, I had a meltdown because it's my own pattern and I stuffed it up because I'm still working on the first house. And because I've been working one thread over two, I forgot that this one I was doing 2 threads over 2. And now I have to rip back what I actually did. So this is the Queenslander sampler. It's a 12 Queenslander houses, one for each month of the year. I mean, if you wanted to do it, you could leave out the month if you didn't like that. Make it what you want. You might just want to do one house as a small. But it's got, I started putting the eyes in on the frogs, but then I realised I'd done it 1 thread over 2 instead of 2 over 2. So I've got to pull those out. So that's annoying. And then this house, I've fixed that one up, but I put that 1 over 2 instead of 2 over 2. All of this has got to come out. That was 1 over 2, and under here was 1 over 2. So I've got to fix that all up. How annoying. Because I was starting to get on a roll and I'm like, yeah, I'm getting it done. This is beautiful 36 count Spring Green by Linen by number 12 Stitch Co. Really gorgeous spring green colour. And I'm using all DMC threads for my project. I don't know if I've got the printed out cover for this one. I will insert a picture here of what it will look like eventually when I get round to it. But I think once I get this first house done, because the colours are I'm very torturous. The first one's the hardest one, the rest are all easy. Because the first one has got quite similar colours, shading. So that's a tough one to do, but it's not that bad. And in case you're wondering, this is my gorgeous bag, Disney bag by Rainbow Stitches, Rebecca. So it's got a carnival fabric with Minnie Mouse. So I'll put her link to her Etsy shop below if you're interested. Oh, goodness me, I'm disorganised as usual. I didn't put that away. So, need to keep this out of the naughty corner and just get it done. Just get it done, Lisa. The next one I worked on was my other design, which is the Greek sampler. And it's on blue DMC thread. The blue fabric I got, I think that's Fox and Rabbit Designs. It's ocean or sky blue or something, one of those, I can't remember. I don't know that I bothered printing the cover to these because they're my own design and I just needed to do the model. I don't think I did. So I'll put a picture here. And this is in the another bag by Rebecca, Harry Potter. So I'll show you what I've done so far. This is on DMC 939, but I actually charted it for white, but I couldn't get I'm doing this one thread over two. I couldn't, if I got the lower count fabric, this is 36 count. If I got 32 count, I had charted it for 32 count in DMC Blanc, I think, 2/2, which would make it pop. But it didn't show up enough with one thread over two on the blue fabric, so I changed to the DMC 939, which looks just as great. So yeah, so this is what I've been working on. So I've finished I only had a little bit left of the lowercase alphabet to do. It's a Greek alphabet. Then there's some Greek patterns in here, like tile patterns and things throughout. And then like a wavy Greek border. And then this box here has like a Greek poem in it. So that's 1/1. And I wish I'd done it just the half stitch, but I'd done it a full cross in 1/1. And now I have to be committed and keep doing that. But it looks good, but it's just slow going. So I'll just try and bring this up again so you can have a close up. So down the bottom, it's got more tile patterns, some urns, an owl, which is popular in Greek mythology, and things like that. So, and some goats. You can't have a Greek sampler without some goats, and a temple. So that's that one. So at least I got a little bit done on it. I need to rotate my projects more. I'm one of those people that I get stuck on one project, which is boring for you guys because I usually don't have this many things to show you. This one's Botany Bay by Fox and Rabbit Designs. This one I've finally run out of some of the threads that I need I should have got them while I was down in Hobart, but I had a tight budget. So I'll put the picture here of what it's supposed to look like. And this is what I've done. So I've, what did I do? I did a bit more, you can hardly see it, but there's this faint pink border. I finished that off a bit, all the way across here. And then the new thing I did was this tree, the second tree. So that's that done, but there's a bunny rabbit or something in there, and I haven't got the thread for it. So anyway, that's that one. And that's on the call for fabric, which I think is linen, lakeside linen. I don't know. I can't remember, but it's a call for fabric. So that's just in a bag that I made with teapots on, and some vintage lace. So that's all the projects I worked on prior to going to the Dark Mojo Retreat. I did take away Sarah Newman with me, but as soon as we got the kit that was for the release for the new design for the retreat from Joanna, I just worked on that. So let's do a recap of getting there, and if you've already heard this before because you were at the retreat, then fast forward a little bit. So I was meant to get the plane on Friday morning at 9:50 from Brisbane, and it was going to be a direct flight to Hobart, getting in at 12:40, and that way I could enjoy going out to Richmond, get a lavender ice cream, and, you know, go to the evening event at the shop at A Stitch in Time, and meet everyone that was attending the retreat and have a look at stuff that I wanted to buy in the shop and all this jazz. But I got there at 7:30 and spent an hour in the bag drop and security line to get through. Got all the way through security, went all the way down the end to my gate, sat down, and 5 minutes in, your flight is cancelled. So went over to the desk, but there was no one there. So then had to walk up to the ladies at the gate and say, what's going on? And they said, oh, you need to go up to the service desk up the other end of the airport. So me and the others that were supposed to be on the flight, we all traipsed up to the service desk and then lined up for half an hour there. And then the lady was really nice, and they'd already rebooked us on other flights, so you didn't get a choice. Some were going the next day, and I was really panicked that I was going to be on the next day, so I thought there's no point in going if I can't get there today, because I don't want to get there halfway through the retreat. It's not worth it to, you know, it's wasted the whole time. So anyway, when I got up to the counter, she said, oh, I've got you on a flight this afternoon at 3:05, and you go via Sydney, and then you change planes, and at 5:45 you get a flight to Sydney to Hobart. I'm like, okay, no worries. They gave me $40 in vouchers, and there was no point in going home, so I went, all right, I'll just go and, I've got my knitting, I've got my cross stitch, I'll just go and have some brunch and do some craft. So I walked and found this place, the Avery, and had some toast and a cup of coffee and a pot of tea. And then went down and just wandered everywhere because the seats are really uncomfortable. There's no nice seats at the airport. There's no comfy seats. So not at Brisbane anyway. So I traipsed around and I kept moving seats and I couldn't find anywhere to plug in because they were all broken, the charging stations. So I waited all day. Then we finally boarded our flight. Then we had to sit on the tarmac for half an hour before we got to even depart because they had to get 3 bags off because people were a no-show. And then when we got to Sydney, we all the people that needed to connect to Hobart, we all raced off the plane and we're rushing to the gate only to find out our flight's cancelled. You wouldn't believe it. I'm like, 2 cancelled. I've never had such a bad experience at an airport ever. I've been really lucky, I guess. Anyway, so that flight's cancelled. So we all traipsed down to the service desk and you've got no idea. It was like 300 metre long lineup of people waiting to find out what was happening. And I got a email with a new booking saying, you're on a flight tomorrow at 7 a.m. direct to Hobart going. And I thought, no, I can't do this. So I'm ringing Wayne and I'm just about in tears because I'm just so tired. I've been all day at the airport, cancelled flights, delays. And I was at the end of my tether and he's like, oh, there's another flight with Qantas because I was flying Virgin. With Qantas at 7 o'clock. And I'm like, I can't do that. I don't even know how to get my bag back. And anyway, in the meantime, Wayne sends me a text message. I've booked your flight, lovely. And I'm like, oh no. I mean, I'm excited, but no, I've got to find my bag. And I didn't know what to do. And usually I travel with Wayne, so I don't have to worry about all this stuff. So anyway, I went downstairs, couldn't see anything coming out on the carousel too because it said that was for our flight. No bags came out. So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I'll race over and ask what I do over at Qantas. And I asked a guy where it was. He goes, oh, it's at Terminal 3. You have to walk all the way over the road there and down there and get to the terminal and go upstairs, and that's where Qantas is. So I went over, and being that it was later in the evening, there was nobody around and it was really hard. And I got up there and I come across this Qantas worker and I said to her, I've really had a shit day. Can you help me? How do I get my bag back? She goes, you have to go all the way back over to the Virgin baggage claim and ask them where your bag is. And so, and she said, you'll have to hurry because you've got to get back over here to check in for your new flight. So I raced back over. I was so exhausted, dragging my carry-on luggage and everything back over to the baggage claim. And luckily there wasn't a lineup. So I went over and she goes, oh, it's on carousel 3. And I said, well, the thing says carousel 2, so it'd be helpful if you had the correct info. So I went over and luckily just after I started walking over, she made an announcement to everyone on our plane. Oh, by the way, your bags are on carousel 3. I'm like, hopeless. And anyway, so my bag luckily came out really fast. So I grabbed it. So I've got my big suitcase, my little suitcase, and my bags, and I'm running across to the Terminal 3, up the lift to upstairs, and then I didn't have like the thing to scan for my new flight, and there was no staff around hardly. Anyway, there's this one guy there, but there was a lineup, and I'm like, oh. Anyway, and then this other lovely man came over that worked for Qantas and he said, oh, come over here, I'll sort you out. So he got me my bag tag and checked me in and got me my boarding pass. And then I was so frazzled. I put my boarding pass in my bag and I walked over to the bag drop, and you just got to scan your boarding pass and then put your bag on the conveyor and it just takes it off. There's no staff there. Well, it kept saying it's not available for your flight. And I'm like, what is going on? So I walked over to the line and there's like this massive family with like, I'm talking like 30 bags, and they're taking forever and ever. Anyway, I found that guy again, and I went back over to him, and I scanned it, and I go, I don't know why it's not working. And he looked at it, and he goes, it's your Virgin boarding pass. So anyway, so then I got my Qantas one out, and it worked. And luckily for me, the flight that Wayne had got me on with Qantas last minute, he paid full price for, I don't even want to think about the price. He paid full price for a business class ticket. That was the only one available. So luckily I had access to the business lounge, which would have been good all day. But anyway, I get up there, get to the business lounge, and I was so thirsty because I hadn't had a drink since 10 a.m. and I hadn't had any food since then. And it's like after 5, nearly 6 o'clock. Anyway, I just walked straight over to the juice and poured myself a drink and just basically chugged it back. Then poured myself a Pepsi, and then I went and found a comfy lounge to sit on. I was so exhausted, but being a celiac, they don't cater very well at airports to celiacs, so there was nothing I could really have. They had apples, but I can't have apples because they give me an upset stomach. The joys of being intolerant to a lot of things. So anyway, I had a chocolate bar in my bag. I remembered I put it in there for an emergency, so that was my emergency. So I pulled it out, ate that, and then I thought, it's 15 minutes before we board. I better go down because it might be like far away. So it was right down the other end at the terminal. So go down to gate 9 or whatever it was, 8. Get down there, sitting there for half an hour, and then they're like, oh, you now need to go to gate 3. I'm like, oh. So I had to walk all the way back up the other end. We all get there and we wait another half an hour. I'm thinking, if they cancel this flight, I'm just going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. Anyway, got on the flight, and then we had to sit there for half an hour while the engines revved up before we left, and then we must have had to wait for a slot, so we had to wait a bit longer to take off. Anyway, we finally got upwards, and at least I was in a comfy seat because it was business class, so they're a bit more comfortable. And I couldn't eat the food because it wasn't gluten-free, so paid $1,200 plus for a ticket to get a little packet of miniature succotash biscuits. Yay! And an orange juice. Woo! Fancy. So anyway, we got to Hobart at 11:30, and I raced straight because they weren't going to bring the bags out straight away. So I raced straight over to the girl at Europe Car, who'd been calling me back and forth to check when I was going to arrive, because I think I was her last customer of the day. And she started jumping up and down excitedly going, you made it, you made it. And I'm like, yeah, I made it. So she gave me my car keys. Then I got my bag, and the bloody car was like right over the back of the rental section, like right up the back against the hillside. So I was like, oh, I just had it with walking. I've walked everywhere, walked to the moon and back. So anyway, so finally got in the car, and then like driving in outside of the city in Hobart is really bad at night because there's no street lights, and it was sort of foggy and creepy. Anyway, and I had no idea where I was going, so drove to the caravan park, got there in the dark. There was an envelope taped to the door with my cabin key in and a map, and then I just drove around to my cabin, and it creeped me out because when I arrived, the TV was on in the cabin. I'm like, oh my God, is someone in my cabin? So I got out and I'm like peering through the glass door. I couldn't see anyone in there, and so I opened the door, I left it open, and I went and checked the bathroom and toilet, but there was no one in there. It was just the lady had put the heating on and the TV on to make it welcoming for me. So anyway, I took my stuff in and got a good night's rest and was ready to go the next day. And the rest of the footage and everything I'll put all together at the end. So day 1, I got there super early because Battery Point is a historical area with like small streets and on-street parking only. So I wasn't familiar with exactly where I would be parking. So I got there super early at like, I don't know, 7:30, in the morning, and found a park that was I could park all day, so that was good. And then I was going to walk down to Salamanca Markets, but because I'd walked so much the day before, I got one block down and I started aching really bad. So I just turned around and walked back up, and I went to Jackson's Bakery and sat there in that cute little bakery that is in the video that I'll show you. And they didn't have a lot of gluten-free, but they had an artisan type gluten-free bread that wasn't toasted, unfortunately, but they had real butter and really nice like homemade type raspberry jam, which was really nice. So I had that with a coffee and then a pot of tea, and then went over to the car and got the rest of my stuff, and then walked down to the hall, which was only another block down, and then all the other ladies started turning up, so that was exciting. And I met Carolyn, and then we all went in, and it was a lovely old Methodist congregation hall that was built in the mid or late 1800s and was used as a children's... What have you got there, Sooty? Used for, I think, looking after kids or Sunday school or something like that. And then in the 50s, it was going to be knocked down and put, because it's on a corner, was going to be knocked down and made into a service station. But luckily, this lady got the community together, and they bought the building and used it from then henceforth as a community hall. So people have their wedding receptions there and all sorts of things. And it's really nice hall. It's got central heating, and it's got a kitchen and a couple of toilets, and yeah, it's really nice. So we were in the hall, and there was like a big U shape with the desk like tables, and you could sit either side. And then there was a table up the front with our kits on, and then another table for you to put your finished projects to share with people to show what you've done. So I ended up sitting next to Ella, and I couldn't believe that. I didn't realise she was coming, so it was so lovely to meet you, Ella. And she's Ella Rose Vines on Instagram. She also has a Flosstube if you want to check that out, and I'll put the links below. And then we sat next to another lady, Jan, who ended up being the lady who looked after Ella when she was a kid at daycare. So it's such a small world. And they were both from the same area, same suburb virtually, so that was nice. And we got to meet all the other lovely ladies, and it was just a wonderful weekend. Everyone was so kind, so generous. I was so disorganized. I didn't do any floss drops to share or anything like that, and I feel bad. And all these lovely ladies were giving me floss drops, and which I'll show you in a minute. And then Joanna, so we started off just stitching our own stuff, meet and greet, get some morning tea, because we started at 10 a.m. And then at about 11:30, we got our kits, so that was good. We just came up per table and got our kits, and Joanna did like a bit of an introduction about the design. So the design is Tasmania after the fires, because the theme of so Dark Mojo is a spin off the festival that was happening the same weekend, which is Dark Mofo, which is a pagan festival that happens every year in Hobart. And the theme of this year's Dark Mofo festival was resurrection. So for our retreat, Joanna chose to do Tasmania after the fires, the bushland resurrecting itself after all the fires, and it's an absolutely beautiful sampler, which is available to purchase now from Joanna's website. I'll put a link below, so anybody can buy the pattern now, and it's gorgeous. And she's going to be releasing another small that accompanies this pattern with a Tasmanian tiger on it, and it's gorgeous. So yes, it's so beautiful. There's the native flowers that belong that are unique to Australia and Tasmania, There's some little lobster crayfish there. There's these Tasmanian bush mice, some orchids. These look like callistemons, and then you've got the tree with the little birds and the crayfish and the Tasmanian tigers. And these are my favourite, the turbo chooks. Tasmanian turbo chooks, they call them. They're a native, similar to in Queensland, we have the brush turkey, and they run around really fast. And so these are the Tassie devils are chasing the turbo chooks. And then we've got the Banksias. Some are burnt and some are new flowers. And then butterflies. So that's beautiful. Just gorgeous. And it's all in cottage garden threads. And the fabric is it's called Long-Tailed Mouse, 36 count Edinburgh linen. 47 by 50 centimeters in size, and it's by Fancy Fabric, Melissa Jansen. So that's sorry, it'll be backwards. I'll put the details below because that's her thing. And so this is the fabric. Isn't it gorgeous? The colors, really lovely. Makes you think of the bush when you see it. And then this is the design that I've done so far. So I've done these ants going across, the little mouse, one of the callistemons, and some of the orchids and the cacti. I think these are cacti or orchids coming across here. So that's what I've done so far. So I've been really enjoying stitching on this. And Joanna showed different ways at the retreat how you can take some of the elements from this sampler. If you don't want to do the whole sampler, you can take them and make them into a drum or a little needle book, and different things like that. And also getting into slow stitching, she did a piece with the Banksia and then leftover selvages and that sewn on to make like an art piece and framed it. So that was really lovely. So Joanna's actually going to be getting some slow stitching kits with Liberty Fabric into her shop. So definitely keep an eye on her shop and her blog because they're going to be amazing. So there's more to come on that front, I think. Yeah, so that was the fabric. The threads are all cottage garden threads. I'm not going to pull them all out here because it's like a mess. I also got this lovely, one of the ladies was giving away this gorgeous sewing box, which I needed a new sewing box. And isn't it gorgeous? It's huge, so I took that as my carry-on the way home. But it's really wonderful. I love it. And I worked out how to hold the lid up. You should put the handle there to hold it up. So with our kit, we also got a bag. We've got this little library bag with a Tasmanian devil on it. And inside was a little, we could use this as a floss ring, a little key ring, a stitch in time on wood. The most adorable from Fancy Fabric little brooch pin needle minder of the Tasmanian tiger. Get out of here. Look how tiny this magnet is. Oh my God. It's so tiny and cute. It's adorable. So they've got that one. Got a pen, stitch in time pen. We've got a little Disney scissor fob. We got, I've already used some of this, honey and olive moisture cream, and it's you can really smell the honey in it. In a little pot. What else did we get? Just making sure I don't forget anything. We got this floss card, wooden floss card with a stitch in time on. That was my badge. We got a stitch in time corner gauge ruler. We got a $10 gift certificate to use in a stitch in time Hobart. Now, I got these ones. I've forgotten the name of the lady. I'll have to put it below. Sorry if I forgot your name. Aren't these cute? 16th century rabbits. And floss drops. And this one came in a little handmade envelope. And it's Vintage Lily Makes. And it's an example of her cross stitch on a pillow. And then, oh my goodness, this one, oh, I've got it all tangled, sorry. Stitching Squirrels gave us these floss drops, and this is her grandmother in the 1950s and the bridesmaid on the floss drops. Aren't they beautiful? Isn't her grandmother lovely? Look at her. What a beautiful dress. And she hand dyed blue silk for us. What? It's so soft. It's beautiful. What a generous gift. So that's gorgeous. I love that. And I got some more floss drops off Leona Sampler Threads, and she does the model stitching. Leona Sweeney, she does the model stitching for Hands Across the Sea. So she gave me a set of floss drops with the antique sampler from Hands Across the Sea. And I was lucky enough to win her, not win, but, you know, get her small in the swap. So that was really lovely. I'll show you that in a minute. What else? Let's just double check. There's nothing else. No, that's it. So that's what we got. So that was very, very generous. And then I'll show you now my small. It came in this box that Leona has decoupage with an antique sampler design on it. Isn't it gorgeous? So I can reuse this to put bits and bobs in. So that's gorgeous. So I'll have that in my cupboard on display. And this darling thing is my small, and it's got a little ring to hang it up with. Isn't it gorgeous? Oh. And then it's got silk ribbon with these tiny little motif and Hobart 2022, and then on the back it's got the same fabric as the main thing, and these little cards, floss drop cards. Aren't they gorgeous? So that's going to hang in my sewing room. So that is darling. The workmanship in that. And I'll just put a picture here of my small that's not so small. So I designed a building replica of Cascade Brewery. It's not absolute 100% accurate, but I was trying to keep it as small as possible. And on the back I used a linen tea towel from Tasmania that has one of the streets in Battery Point with the houses. So I thought that was poignant, and then I put a bulb pin at the top with a vintage button, and then I just stitched around the border some pumpkin spice, I think it's pumpkin spice chenille trim by Lady Dot Creates. And then I added some little scissor fobs and things from my shop in there, plus a little fabric strawberry that I made recently. So one of the other lovely ladies got that, so that was exciting. And if you were at the retreat, my email details are below. Email me, and if you want, I can send you the pattern for that. Otherwise, I'll be listing it in my shop for sale. Okay, so that's that. Oh, I forgot another thing we got off in our kit with off Carolyn. Was this travel mug. Isn't it nice? So that'll be lovely for taking to work. Now, we went, I missed out on the evening in the shop, but Carolyn very kindly offered to reopen the shop for a couple of us on the Saturday afternoon, and it turned out pretty much everybody turned up for it. So that was worth her effort in opening it, because lots of people came. So I had a strict budget because I just had a strict budget, and also because I felt guilty because I'd spent a fortune on a ticket for business class. So I just bought a sample piece. I've never stitched on higher than 40 count fabric, so I wanted to stitch a red Bristol sampler. A Bristol schoolgirl sampler. So I got this 46 count baked clay, 35 centimeters by 45 centimeters by Fox and Rabbit linen. And you can't probably see it here. It's a really lovely color, and it's got a hint of blue in there, but you can't really tell here, but there's a hint of blue in there in the modeling. And it's very subtle, but I didn't want to do necessarily red for my schoolgirl sampler because my room has a feature wall that's like a tealy navy blue. So I found this, I wanted to try a Vera Soie 103 thread because I've never used it before. And so this one is number 13, and it's this gorgeous teal blue. So I want to do the Bristol schoolgirl sampler in this on this fabric. And I found one, I can't remember the name of it. I found one and it'll just fit like with an inch. So I'm going to have to frame it myself or hem it and just have it as a wall hanging or something. So, because I want to hang it up on my wall in the bedroom. So that's what I bought. Plus I got 2 lots of Carriage Black Gentle Art thread that I needed for my Halloween at Hollyberry Farm. So that's the sum total of what I bought at the shop. So I thought I held a lot of restraint because I didn't go wild. Well, I couldn't. And it was very hard not to go wild, but that's just how it was. So I also wanted to get something that I know I'm going to use. Like I don't want to just get stuff for the sake of getting it, you know. And I find if I buy charts on their own, they just languish. So I thought if I get the fabric and the thread, I know I can get the chart as a PDF. So when I can afford it, I'll get the chart. And then I can just start stitching it and start it rather than it just sits there in my cupboard and I look at it and go, I wish I could start that, but I don't have the fabric or the, you know, haven't got anything kitted up. So now I try to be very careful with what I buy and just when I'm buying something, try to partially or fully kit it up at the time. That way I can just start enjoying it, can't I? So that's basically, I feel like I'm forgetting something. So then day 2, we just stitched and we spent all day talking and the day just flew by. Couldn't believe how fast it went. It always does when you're having lots of fun, doesn't it? And next thing we know, we're all saying goodbye, and I feel bad because I was going to get photos with people, and I met Sarah. I'll put a link to her down below. She does have a few Flosstube videos there, and she did in the video you'll see the giant bee, the different Hades, and the Lady Liberty. She did all those. Beautiful work, beautiful stitching, Sarah. And it was so lovely to meet you. And I'm really sorry that I didn't get photos with you and Ella or any of the other ladies. So definitely have to go back again next time so we can catch up and take some selfies together, hey? Yeah, so I had a really, really good time. And then I'd already checked out of my cabin, so I just went straight to the airport and dropped the car off and checked in and just waited. Luckily, Hobart Airport, although it's small, it's probably about the size of Newcastle Airport, maybe a fraction bigger. They had really good seating, so it was comfortable. Even the wooden seating was comfortable, and plenty of places to charge your phone, which was good. And as it turned out, I sat over one side for a while doing a bit of stitching, and then when I got closer to the time before I had to board, I just went to the loo, and then I walked over the other side and I ran into Ella again, and she was just about to do some English paper piecing. So I sat down and had a chat with her till my plane was boarding, and then left her to continue doing her EPP. And then I got in after 9, which luckily I was so nervous that they were going to cancel my flight at the last minute. But anyway, we got off okay, got back home to Brisbane, and Wayne picked me up with the dogs in the car, and we stopped via McDonald's because I hadn't had any dinner. Had a bit of McDonald's on the way home. And yeah, that was it. So, and then yesterday I worked on my sampler from the retreat, and after lunch I started I was going to watch Flosstube, but I was so tired I fell asleep for 3 hours. And I woke up just in time for Wayne coming home from work, and then we had to go out because I had an order to post. So yeah, so today I thought I'll record a video. I go back to work tomorrow, and now I'm just going to go and have a cup of tea and watch some Flosstube and catch up because there's so many videos I've missed. And I'll talk to you again soon. So whatever you're doing, enjoy crafting, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.